Among those who ride to the hounds, it's said that fox hunting isn't just a sport, it's a way of life. And on this day in early September 1900, the riders were eager for the first hunt of the autumn season. They didn't have long to wait, for now the hounds caught a fresh scent. In America, the hunt is always for the sport of the chase, the feel of a fine horse, the thrill of the jumps, and a fast ride through the rolling countryside. When the hounds finally corner their quarry, they're never permitted to make a kill. They're called off, and the fox is allowed to go free. Many fox hunters insist the fox enjoys the sport as much as they do. Well, if there was ever a fox likely to prove their point, it was their quarry today. He was a silver fox, and his quickness and cunning were already legendary. They called him Domino, and he did seem to delight in matching wits with the finest hounds in the country. His pelt was worth more than $1,000, but the fox hunters prized him far beyond that. For the first half hour, Domino stayed well out in front of the pack. As always, he planned every move well in advance. Now he made a complete loop in his trail. This was designed to scatter and confuse the dogs. After more than an hour, Domino began to sense he was dragging out the chase too long. He was becoming tired and footsore, and he was thirsty. Because he was tired, Domino had misjudged the speed and endurance of his pursuers. For the first time in his life, he was in trouble. The hounds were governed only by instinct. They didn't go by any man-made rules. If they caught the fox above ground, they would kill it. In panic, Domino let himself be driven into strange terrain, and now he could find no safe place to hide. And yet, if he had the wits to use it, a means of escape was just arriving on the scene.
Whoa, boy, whoa!
Now Domino really lived up to his reputation. It was risky, but he would use the scent of the animals in the wagon to cover up his own trail.
Get up there, come on now.
so in a battle of wits, with the odds all against him, the little fox had been the victor. He couldn't know that even now he was entering another world, the world of one dog and one man. They also hunted foxes, but with a different set of rules. The farmer's name was Sam Davenport. He was 31, unmarried, and dedicated to the future of his little farm. The dog was called Hecla. Their home was in the valley of the Shawban River, a place where the soil was rich and the farms well kept. Sam's farm was strictly a one-man operation. Everything he had, he'd earned with sweat and calluses, and it followed that Sam had a healthy respect for the dollar. He could just about double his bank account with what he was toting in the back of his wagon.
Whoa there, whoa now.
Sam knew in a wink that he was looking at $1,000. But if Hecla got to the fox first, he wouldn't even have small change.
Hecla! Come back here, Hecla! Get away from me! Let him alone, Hecla! Get away, Hecla! Let that fox alone! Let him be! Hecla! No, Hecla, no!
Sam figured he had him now. The tool shed was a perfect trap. But Sam had a few things to learn about this particular fox, and this was lesson number one. If there was any way out of a trap, Domino was just the fox to find it.
Hecla, stay in here.
In the early 1900s, the rolling green hills that enclosed the Shawban Valley abounded with many kinds of wildlife. For a fox, it was a land of plenty. Domino had already sensed the promise of good living here. Now he was looking for a little fulfillment. His keen nose led him to an abandoned meadow. Field mice are the mainstay of a fox's diet, and judging from the sound of things, it found an inexhaustible supply. He also found a very unusual mouse. Instead of running away, he attacked. Then, instead of dodging into a hole, he treed. Not a very big tree, but this mouse knew what he was up to. It was just big enough. This was downright humiliating. For the first time in his life, Domino had been outfoxed by a mouse. With his dignity completely lost, he organized a disorderly retreat to find his dinner somewhere else. In the thick beech woods that bordered the meadow, he caught a promising scent. It was a brooding pheasant hen. Now this should be easy. Even if he missed the hen, he was sure to get the eggs. In the forest world, nothing is sure. because you never know who'll be looking over your shoulder at mealtime. They do say there's nothing quicker than a cat, but in the art of twist and turn, Domino was the master. Domino was never foolhardy. He knew that if he'd been caught in the open, the chase might have had a different ending. From now on, he'd give the bobcat plenty of hunting room. Not all forest animals are natural enemies. The fawn saw no danger here, only a possible playmate. Foolish frolic was beneath Domino's dignity, but it was important that he know every creature in his domain. Now he was simply confirming that the fawn was harmless. Trouble is, fawns have mothers. Domino's domain took in a varied countryside, the lush bottomland where the cattle grazed, wooded slopes, and rock-strewn ridges. The next morning found him surveying his little world in peaceful repose. But peace he was not to have. Sam was determined to convert that silver pelt into a stack of silver dollars, and he was beginning an orderly campaign. The first step in trapping a fox is to learn some of its habits. But on this particular fox, Hecla had staked his own claim.
Hecla! Hey, come back here! Come back here, you no good hound! Hecla! No, Hecla, no!
This didn't make sense. Surely the log was a trap. Actually, Sam was a mite disappointed, getting himself trapped in a log. Nothing smart about that fox. Now, let's count the dollars. Nothing but zeros? Well, Sam had set out to learn a thing or two about that fox, and he had. Now it would be Domino's turn. In the months to come, he'd get a higher education on the subject of Sam Davenport. Early that same evening, Domino began a routine inspection tour of all the farms in the Shawban Valley. He'd been raised in farm country, and he had neither fear nor scruples about taking his meals where he found them, even if they happened to be in a chicken coop. Well, this looked like easy pickings. Nothing to do but move in and help himself. Then he saw just who this farm belonged to. On second thought, maybe it was wiser to move out and bypass this place in the future.
What's the matter with you, Heckler? You hush up now. Nothing wrong out here.
Like many a farmer of his day, Sam often ran a trap line to augment his income. He'd matched wits with many a fox in his time, and he saw no reason to change his methods now. Sooner or later, the silver would make that one mistake. Next morning found Sam up in the hills bright and early, ready to plant his trap sets. He'd spotted the run that led from Domino's hilltop lookout to the mouse meadow. This would be a good place for set number 1. It didn't seem likely that a trap like this, laid in the open and unbaited, would have much chance of catching anything. But the trick here was a piece of log. Laid across the trail, it would make the fox break stride and step directly on the trigger. The next one was a bait set. Lured by fresh meat, the fox could reach it only by springing the trap. Whenever Sam used a trap of extra strength, he softened the bite of the jaws by covering them with a piece of canvas. Yes, Sam knew quite a lot about the trapping business. But then, so did Domino. At the first set, Sam had made the mistake of leaving the log wrong side up. Grubs and worms should be underneath the log. It was enough to tell Domino there was a trap here, and when he found it, he knew what to do with it. Domino had long ago developed his own method for springing steel traps. He simply dug up the chain and gave it a quick tug. Sam's trap line provided him with several evenings of amusement. By carefully reading the signs, Sam had found the place where Domino always crossed a small stream, and here he planted a water set. A water set was new to Domino, and it should have worked, except for 2 things, a little luck and a little turtle. Domino didn't miss a trap. And when he found the last one, he tried something different, for a flash finish. Well, Sam had the message now. This was just about the smartest fox he'd ever come across. It was plain he'd have to dig deep in his bag of tricks to catch this one. Now Sam took every precaution. He boiled the traps to remove every trace of human scent that might be clinging to them. Then, as a double protection, he masked the scent of steel with a piece of smoked cedar bark. From tracks and other telltale signs, he located the run most frequently used by the fox, and in the middle, he planted a scent ball. The scent was a special elixir he'd mixed up himself from animal oils and glandular secretions. Its potent perfume was designed to attract any fox within 5 miles. At 5 feet, its effect was paralyzing. Around the scent ball, Sam had set a full circle of traps. If the fox missed one, he was bound to step into another. For reasons not entirely known, a scent ball does have a strange effect on even the canniest fox. It seems to mesmerize, dull their sense of caution, and it worked with Domino. He felt the danger here, yet the irresistible scent drew him on. The bite of steel was something Domino had never known before. long night came deepening pain, and sights and sounds long familiar to the little fox now became things of terror. Even the creatures that feared him most sensed his helplessness and seemed to mock him. There were also predators abroad. Fortunately, the raccoon panicked at the sight of something he couldn't understand and fled the scene. The bobcat passed within 20 yards, but he was upwind and failed to catch the scent of the defenseless fox. By luck alone, Domino had survived the night. He would need a miracle to live through the day. It was already in the making. Hecla, out early in search of the fox, caught the scent of the doe. The doe, in the course of her flight, came upon the stricken fox. This was the thing that had threatened her fawn. She would destroy it. Then, right on cue, Hecla. He scared off the deer, and this gave Domino the chance to make good his escape. And so the only loser here was Hecla. He hadn't even seen the fox, and the deer had too good a lead. He'd never catch them. Domino traveled more than a mile before he found what he was looking for, a place to hole up. An empty badger burrow. He checked the surroundings. It looked safe here. A sick or injured fox has an amazing instinct for self-treatment. Domino knew exactly what he must do. He scooped out a shallow trench and began to build a mound of soft, wet earth over his injured leg. It would harden into a makeshift cast and hold the leg firm and secure until the bone had healed. He would not move until he knew the cure was complete. Just 2 days later, it became quite clear that Domino's luck was still holding out. Sam Davenport popped out of the forest right under his nose. The prize was in plain sight, less than a dozen yards away. But Sam was intent on the business at hand. He was planting poison bait in every likely spot. During the next few days, winter came to the Shaw band. The chicken became a thing of torment and temptation to the starving fox. And then one day the bobcat appeared. The temptation would be removed. It was the last Domino would ever see of the bobcat. As the days passed, the fox grew steadily weaker from slow starvation. And then another visit from Sam. So far, the poison baits had killed 3 raccoons. And now, if he read the signs right, a bobcat, but no trace of the fox. Well, there were plenty of chores to be done back at the farm. Better wait a couple of weeks, then start looking someplace else. The day finally came when Domino knew he must put his leg to the test. If he was going to move out of the territory, then he had to have the strength for the journey. And he must find food at once, or he'd be too weak to catch it. Well, it was plain his first meal wasn't going to be a squirrel. But Domino sensed he might find something else here. The squirrel's midden, a treasure trove of nuts and berries. Being snowballed by a squirrel was a little disconcerting, but right now he'd face an avalanche if it meant something good to eat. Through the winter weeks, Domino continued to move deeper into the hills of the Shaw Band. His paw had completely healed, and able to hunt again, he soon returned to the fullness of his strength, but only to begin another search. This time, he was driven by a compulsion even greater than hunger. Winter is the fox's mating season. The vixen's name was Snowy Rough, and while it seemed a strange place to find a lady, Domino never questioned his luck. In the manner of foxes, they gave each other greetings. And this brought out the competition. Another male called Blazor. The budding romance was already about to be nipped. When the fracas turned into a rib-kicking contest, the issue was finally decided. The victory went to Domino, and the last word to the lady. Now Snowy Rough preened herself for the courtship. But the valiant warrior, it seemed, had suddenly become a bashful beau. It wasn't exactly ladylike, but obviously there was only one way to put this poor soul out of his misery. She would have to make the first move. And so began one of nature's oddest mating rituals, a ceremonial dance, the one and only original foxtrot. The dance was over. Domino and Snowy Rough would be mates for life. By the end of March, spring had returned to the Shawban Valley. Domino and Snowy Ruff had moved down from the high country and had already become an accomplished hunting team. These were Canadian geese, northward bound to their summer nesting grounds. The fox's method for catching geese was a masterpiece of forethought and planning. Domino would find a strategic place to hide, then Snowy Ruff would put on a show. The Canadian goose is considered a keenly intelligent bird, and yet it's completely dominated by its own curiosity. In nature's world, this can be a fatal fault. The object, of course, was to lure the geese ashore. Then it was Domino's turn. About the middle of April, Snowy Ruff suddenly lost all interest in hunting. Instead, she began a restless search back and forth across the valley. Domino had no choice but to tag along behind. He didn't know what Snowy Ruff was looking for, but when she finally found it, he was vastly relieved. An abandoned den. It had served generations of foxes. With a little remodeling, a perfect place to bear her young. That night, Snowy Ruff gave birth to 3 cubs, and all were silver. Silvers can be born of 2 red parents, but of course when the parentage is mixed, the chances are greater. Now Domino faced a time of loneliness. He knew by instinct he must not enter the den. As it turned out, though, he was the lucky one, for in 5 weeks, the cubs grew into a trio of terrors. Their only plaything was their mother. Now a fox, even a mother fox, is a nervous, high-strung animal. Snowy Ruff tried very hard to be patient, but every once in a while she just had to lay down the law. It was during one of these family squabbles that Mother's wrath finally drove the cubs out into the world for the first time. But there was no peace for Snowy Ruff. She had to keep tabs on the cubs, and things were just as hectic out here. And that's where Domino came in. Back from a hunting trip, he was meeting his cubs for the first time. But somehow it just wasn't the happy moment he'd been looking forward to. For Snowy Ruff, this was a much-needed reprieve. A chance to get away for once and do a little hunting on her own. An invasion of farm country in broad daylight is a rare thing for a fox, but Snowy Ruff was half-starved from the privations of motherhood. The lure of Sam Davenport's chicken coop was something she couldn't resist. In these busy days of spring, Sam Davenport had given up even thinking about foxes. The last thing he expected was a raid on his chicken coop.
Hey, Heckler! Heckler! Go get him, Heckler! 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 Heckler!
Out in the hayfield on a rabbit hunt, Heckler heard his master and saw the fox at the same time. He didn't get the fox, but he did wind up with something tastier than the rabbits he'd been looking for. Sam Davenport warned his neighbors about the red fox that had raided his chicken coop. But in spite of that, within a week, every farm in the valley was hit. Well, there was only one way to stop this wanton slaughter. And so the farmers rounded up their hounds and set out to shotgun every fox they could find. Now, so far, nobody had even heard about a silver fox. But when they stopped to pick up Sam Davenport, he had to tell them. Because if somebody blasted that high-priced hide, it wouldn't be worth a nickel. Old Dan Parker said Sam wasn't thinking straight. They were losing more in chickens than any fox was worth. And so, being a good neighbor, Sam gave in. He'd finish the chores and join him later. Meantime, they could take Heckler.
That's all right. We'll do that.
All right. Hey, Heckler!
Come on, Charlie.
Let's go, boys. There's time to waste.
Meet us up by the bridge, Sam. Get up, fella.
All right, Will.
Hurry up with those chores, Sam.
I will, Dan. And good luck.
Get up there. Thanks for the load of your dog, Sam.
All right, Will. And don't shoot up that silver if you don't have to.
Whenever danger threatens a fox family, the female hides out with her cubs in the den. And as a rule, the male will offer himself as a decoy and try to lead the trouble away. This handful of hounds didn't bother Domino a bit. One simple trick should be enough. Lay a trail, double back, and make yourself scarce. Just as he planned, Domino's dead end fooled the dogs completely. But he should have had more respect for his old enemy. Still, the fox was confident. He'd just make things a little more complicated. Now a double deception. Up one bank of the brook, back again, over the brook, and up the other side. Then dodge off the trail and lie low. Heckler solved the first part of the puzzle quickly enough. But on the other side, he overran the scent and lost the trail completely.
There he is. I see him. Head him off!
Hey, Charlie.
There he goes.
Get him, Will. Get him. Come on, get over on that other bank. We lay you set now.
In the hail of buckshot, his marvelous agility had saved him. But the drama was far from over. His two most formidable adversaries would soon be on his trail again. For Hecla, it would be only a matter of moments. But Sam Davenport would be delayed until he found the solution to a puzzle. Sam had just discovered that his chicken coop had been raided during the night. But why hadn't Hecla sounded off? The broken door on the coop didn't make sense either. It would take something bigger than a fox to do this. Well, there was no doubt about it. His own dog was the killer. The next thing was to head for the hills and call off the war on foxes. Sam would need that silver pelt to pay off the damage his dog had done. And what's more, he was just itching to get his hands on that good-for-nothing hound. Fox commands respect. Hecla was building up a little courage. Well, sir, there it was. $1,000. Sam's for the taking. So what was holding Sam? Maybe in the savage face of the dog, he saw something of himself. Something that wasn't very pretty to look at. But that fox didn't have a thing to be ashamed of. Brave and smart as they come. And it played the game fair and square. You just can't kill that kind of courage.
Hecla? Hecla! Better get going, Fox, before I change my mind.
Hecla! Come back here, Hecla! No, Hecla, no! Hecla!
In spite of Hecla's sins, Sam sure hated to lose that dog. But nothing could help Hecla now. For just downstream, the rapids ended in a 50-foot drop. It's not surprising that when Domino recovered from his ordeal, he made a very wise decision. He and his family would leave the Shawban Valley forever. And it so happened that on the day of his departure, Sam Davenport was making his weekly trip into town for supplies. Domino could see that, as usual, Sam had a dog with him. Oh, it was the same dog, all right. Getting bounced off a few boulders couldn't put Heckler out of commission. He was tough. He was also in total disgrace. And by the time he got through wearing this dead hen for a lavalier, he'd never go near a chicken coop again. In their new home in another valley, the little foxes would fight the battle for survival again. But they would always meet adversity with courage and almost incredible cunning. For this is the wise and wonderful way of the fox.